Love this podcast? Support this show through the Acast supporter feature. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just click the link in the show description to support now.
I want to remind you to check out Zencastr, Zencastr. That is my favorite program to use for all my recording needs. And the great part is, not only do they have audio, but they also have video options as well. So whether you're video conferencing, podcasting, just catching up with friends and loved ones, you definitely want to check out Zencastr. They have paid subscriptions. They also have a free version, which I'm actually using right now. Transcripts, the whole 9 yards, and even, get this, Zencastr has started to do hosting. So for all you podcasters out there, if you're looking for a host for your show, please consider Zencastr. You will not regret it. I'm telling you right now. Once again, Zencastr. Made on Zencastr. That's right.
In.
Look at what we have here, folks!
To the only show that matters.
The cream of the crop.
Duke Loves Wrestling.
And there is no one that does it better than
your host.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
The Duke.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
This is the Rose Petal Professional Wrestling, the one and the only De La Rosa, everybody's favorite ring announcer.
Brothers and sisters, we have a very interesting episode here. It is a follow-up to a recent episode and really a follow-up to some recent comments. So let me go back here. A couple weeks ago, in fact, that was actually May 5th, so less than 2 weeks ago, week 450, the Florida Wrestling Empire not paying talent, ? That episode, we had Michael El Rey. And you know El Rey, he is a excitable young man. He likes to tell it like it is, especially from where he sits. And he said a lot of things, which if you're not familiar with the Florida independent wrestling scene, there are a lot of things that could have gone over your head. But one thing he said during that conversation piqued the interest of a lot of folks, and I got a tremendous response about it. He talked about people who are still doing business with Chase and Rance, still doing business and still benefiting from that. And as you know, on this show, we've had Chase and Rance on here before. He told his entire story, especially from his perspective, and it was a major series that happened here. And to this day, I still get buried for doing it. How dare you platform Chase and Rance? How dare you have that guy on your show and allow him to speak? So I get a lot of heat for that. I also get a lot of praise for it because thank you for giving that person an open mic and allowing Chase and Rance to tell exactly who he is and what he's done, which is the foundation of why he's such a polarizing figure in pro wrestling. At least we know from his mouth in detail who this guy is. And because of that, we can make an informed decision of whether or not we're going to do business with him. I get those types of responses literally on a weekly basis, almost daily, the good and the bad. So, I'm used to it, and that's the cross that I'm going to bear. That's why we're a media show. So we will take all the hits, we'll take all the praise, and we'll keep moving forward. Anyway, De La Rosa was singled out by Michael El Rey on that episode. And when I think back, I actually did some research. That's not the first time that El Rey has made reference to De La Rosa, the ring announcer who does business with Chase and Rance. That's essentially how she's been identified. Well, De La Rosa reached out, through a mutual friend of ours and asked to come on the show. And you know my philosophy. If you get mentioned on this show, you are welcome to come on and defend yourself. That's just fair. I want to make it clear to everybody. I don't have a side. I'm not here to praise anybody or to knock anybody, but I am here to get to the heart of the truth. And I think that when we put the truth out, then it's up to whoever's listening to decide, how they feel about it. But at least you have the truth. That's what Duke Loves Wrestling is all about. So, with all of that said, first and foremost, welcome to Duke Loves Wrestling, De La Rosa. How you doing?
I'm doing good, dude. Thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it.
No problem. No problem. I know that was a hell of a introduction there, but I wanted to make sure anyone listening understands how we got to this point where you're on this show expressing yourself. So let me just jump right into it. First and foremost, Michael L. Ray identified you as Chase and Rance's ring announcer. Essentially, I'm paraphrasing. It's not exactly what he said, but it's the foundation of what he said. He said you're Chasen's ring announcer and that you're still doing business with him. So let's just get right to that. Is that true?
That's not true. I stopped ring announcing for Chasen at the end of last year. So it's been roughly 5 months since I stopped being his ring announcer. However, I would say it's been about a year and a half because I did do one show for him at the end of the year last year. But prior to that, I kind of scaled back a little because my career started to take off and I started to ring announce in a lot of different places. I went into Georgia. I'm starting to get into Alabama. So our paths just kind of diverted, and I'm not upset by it, but it was my time to move on. And I think both him and I, without having that conversation, knew it was my time to move on to better things.
When did you start doing business for Chasen? Because it sounds like this is something that had gone on for at least a little while, right?
It did go on for a little bit. I started in the winter of 2021. The first show I did with him was when he was still at his dojo on Goldenrod. It really started out of a whim. I wanted to be able to ring announce for my husband's Florida Tag Team Championship match. And Chasen at the time was a family friend, so there was a deeper connection there besides just wrestling. So of course he, as a gift, let me ring announce that match. And it just so happened that I happened to have a talent for it that I didn't know existed until that day. So there is a gratefulness that I have for Chasen for allowing me that opportunity. And in a way, kind of helping me figure out and navigate the wrestling world, because besides my husband, I didn't really know anything about anything besides being a fan and knowing that I loved wrestling. I've loved wrestling since I was a child, watching it with my dad growing up. So I ring announced for Chasen for consistently for a year and a half.
Okay. So you said that this was fall, winter of 2021 when it first started, right?
Yes.
Okay. So when did you find out, or did you know that this man had been on the registered sex offenders list, and he's somebody who, his crime was lewd and lascivious behavior with a minor? When did you find out about that?
So I knew that there was a past, because everyone has a past. I didn't really know the extent of the past until maybe about 8 months in. I overheard a conversation, and then that conversation prompted me to want to do more research. And everything is online, not just in court documents, but also just on Reddit. There's a lot of stuff. So after overhearing that conversation, I did do my research. I did see that he is a registered sex offender. So that's when I started to really think about distancing myself. But I, at the time, didn't really know how, because I didn't want it to be something where there would be ill will. I appreciate what Chasen has done for me as a person. But I knew that there was going to come a time where I would need to distance myself from him if I wanted to get further in the business. And I've along the way had a lot of advice given to me as far as use Chasen, well, not use, but learn from him, learn from the things that he has to teach, because he is a good teacher. He is a great trainer, and anybody that says that he's not would be lying. His knowledge of the wrestling business is extensive, and I wanted to soak up as much as I could so that I can survive in the Florida Indies, because it's a different scene down here as opposed to going to go wrestle in Georgia or ring announcing in Alabama. The wrestling scene down here is very much different. The culture is different. And I mean, he's been here for Lord knows how long. So I knew there was going to come a time where it was time to put my big girl pants on and take on the wrestling world on my own, so to speak. But at the time, I didn't know how to exactly do that. So that's what kept me with Chasen for so long. And then being with him for so long, the people who train at the dojo kind of become family in a way. And I kind of grew sad of wanting to step away from, I guess, the nest, because I grew up there as a ring announcer in a way, and I didn't know if I was going to be accepted by the rest of the wrestling world in Florida if I were to step out on my own without knowing everything that I possibly could.
You know, Della, again, this is a conversation in which Duke Loves Wrestling, this is what we do. I'm not here to judge one way or another. I'm just trying to get to the heart of the truth. And you're surfacing something that a lot of people, including some pretty big names in wrestling, have spoken to me about offline and off the record. So I'm not going to identify some of the folks who've said this, but here's the foundation of what I've been told. And I'm talking even some of the pretty big names in some very well-known wrestling promotions that everybody listening knows of and watches actively, by the way. Chasen Rance is one of the more talented trainers of folks in the business and has been for a couple of decades now. Full stop. That's something that is completely acknowledged by some very, very big names, not only wrestlers themselves, but also executives. So when I hear from talent who's been trained by him, and you just alluded to it just now yourself, it sounds like there comes a point when you find out about his past, as you said, and you got to make a choice. Do I continue to get this training from this person who I know, I can feel it, I can see it, I've been told that I'm getting better at this thing that I'm doing. He's definitely helping me. Do I walk away from that because of his past, or do I decide that despite his past, I need to get my training because I know that if I get trained from this person, I'm going to be set up for success going forward in this business? And you've been advised of that, which you're not the first person to say that to me as well. Get what you need out of this guy because he's that damn good. And then you go and move on and your career will be better off because you have this training. So this is a decision point, folks. In a perfect world and in a perfect setting, we all going to have this superior morality where I would never do that because, okay. But when you start peeling back the layers, People do a lot of interesting things in order to advance themselves, in order to advance their careers. And they do so because when they look around the room, they realize that not too many people are playing a different game there. Everybody in the room is advancing somehow, some way, in interesting ways that, you know, the moral compass folks would say, hey, I would never do that. But then behind the scenes, you're doing it. There are so many people that have been trained by this guy. And every major promotion, including AEW, has a relationship with him. This is a fact, including WWE. This is a fact. So I don't know what to say to it. I just know that I keep hearing the same story over and over again. And I've asked folks in this business, if we really want Chasing Rance out, then get him out. What's the holdup here? You know what I mean? Talk to his students, talk to everybody, make it clear that this person is no good for the industry, and that's it. Yet the guy continues to thrive. He always has students. He always has a school. He's always making money. He always has relationships with promotions. There are always big names who are at his school doing seminars and training and going into his school after injuries and getting training for themselves personally. People on TV, mind you. And there are videos and there are pictures of that. So I wonder about this. As an industry, do you really want this guy out or not? And I default to the fact that I don't think you really want him out because you love his talent. And you have to pretend like you have a problem with him, when in reality, you clearly don't have enough of a problem with him because he's been doing this for decades. And even after his crimes, which are public record, you promotions is still sending people to train with this guy. Your wrestlers under contract are still training with this guy. So now I look at that situation and I say, okay, so someone like Della Rosa here, who new to the business, she's learning how to be a announcer and other things there. Are we judging her harder than we're judging other people? And that's my question. I don't have an opinion. I haven't sorted that out internally myself, but I'm asking that question. Are we judging her harder than we're judging Ricochet, than we're judging Moose, than we're judging some of the ladies who have gone through there? And there have been videos that have been put out within the past 2 years of them training over there. What's the young lady, Casey, in the WWE? Are we judging Della Rosa harder than we're judging those folks? Because those folks are on TV and they're the big stars and what have you. So maybe you don't have enough cachet to beat up on them. So we're going to talk about Della Rosa. I'm just asking a question, and folks like her. I'm just asking a question there, folks. Right? I do wonder, though, because Michael L. Ray, and I'm going to, in full disclosure, Della Rosa, I like Michael L. Ray. I think he's a quirky guy. I think that at times, I think that he can be very inappropriate at times. I think he can make a lot of sense at times. And I do get the feeling that more often than not, if he's not telling the full truth, he's getting pretty close to it because he's willing to say a lot of things without dressing it up and trying to be diplomatic about it. So we started this conversation here with you saying that he was wrong in what he said and that you are no longer doing business with Chasing. But you also said that you had done business as recently as late last year. So is Mike wrong or is he just not current? I'm trying to understand that part.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong in what he said. To what he said, though, everyone has to have a start somewhere. And a lot of these people who are in the Florida indie scene right now, a grand majority of them at some point in their life have had an encounter, have been trained, have had a conversation, have gotten advice from Chasing Rance. So I'm not blind to that. Over the 2 years I was there, I saw who came in, I saw who left, I saw who he hung out with, I saw who he didn't hang out with. I know who's spoken about him, I know who's not spoken about him. So he's not wrong. However, he's also not current. because I haven't been his ring announcer. He's actually gone out and had, I think, 4 other ones since I left, trying to find one that fit for him, I guess. But he's not current in his information. But he isn't wrong. Someone has to start somewhere. And at the time I didn't have all of the information to make a different decision at the time. But even if I had the information at the time, I still think that I would have been his ring announcer for 2 years. Because in that 2 years, he never did anything to me that made me feel like, he's a bad person. I agree he's done some bad things. Should have probably made some better decisions in his younger years, and maybe, he wouldn't be as ostracized as he is now. But Chasen was always good to me. He was always nice to me. He was always there when I needed advice. He helped me get some of the opportunities that I have now. And so for me, I'll always be grateful. But I think we both know where we stand with each other. It's just not good for my career to continue to be around him and be at his school. And I think he understands that it's time for me to step out of the shadow of whatever he's got going on or of his past mistakes, and really shine and be everybody's favorite ring announcer. Because at the end of the day, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to be a ring announcer. I'm here to hopefully one day be seen next to Samantha Irvin at WrestleMania. So those are my goals. And I know that I'm going to have to drop people along the way in order to get to where I want to get to. And that's what happened. He got dropped, and I think I'm a better ring announcer now for everything that I've been taught, and everything that I've learned, and every obstacle I've had to get over in order to get to where I am. And now that's just how I see my time with Chasen. Was a learning experience, but it was also an obstacle I had to get over.
In terms of Michael El Rey, I mean, is there a scenario in which folks can find some kind of middle ground here and move forward? Because it does seem to be some type of bad blood there or something. I'm not too sure, but for everyone who's ever trained there and who is still down in Florida, you have been alluded to on more than one occasion. Do you have any idea why?
I'm not sure the reason why. As far as El Rey's concerned, I'm not sure. I don't have a beef with El Rey. I've heard a lot of things about him that make him not somebody I necessarily want to be friends with. But if I see you out somewhere, I'm going to do the cordial thing. I'm going to shake your hand and I'm going to keep it moving. But I don't have any beef with anyone, really. At the end of the day, I'm just trying to live my life. I'm trying to be the best at what I do. If El Rey has beef, he's welcome to give me a call. He's welcome to message me. He's welcome to pull me aside with my husband in earshot, of course, but he's welcome to pull me aside to have a conversation face to face. But for me, there's no ill will. The only place I have a problem is when people mention my name and they don't come and speak to me about it. And I do know that he goes everywhere he goes, wherever he goes, and speaks about me. Now, if he has a beef with my husband or with my husband's people or whatever the beef may be, that needs to stay between the men, and the women need to be left out of it, because that's how I got brought into it, was a beef between between men, and then you bring me into it, and now I have a problem because I didn't have anything to do with it in the first place. So I think at the heart of it, the beef lies with the men, and the men need to be men and sort it out, and leave the women to go do whatever it is that they want to do. For me personally, I want to ring announce every weekend. I want to travel up and down Florida and just live my life. And if I can do that without anyone, but at the very least, not have El Rey mention my name in a negative way, I'd be a grateful person for that.
You know, De La Rosa, I appreciate the fact that you reached out and you wanted to come here and set the record straight and add some context and clarity to what's been said. For anyone listening out there who's interested in following your journey and keeping up what you have going on, what's the best way that they can do that?
I am on Facebook. De La Rosa is the name. I'm on Instagram at della.rosa.announced. And if for anyone that would like to book the Rose Petal Professional Wrestling, you can send me a booking inquiry to my email, which is della.rosa4042@gmail.com. I'm grateful for the opportunities that I get now. And I am grateful for those that have helped me along the way. There are some people that I run to for advice, and they are always there for me. One of them being Thump Dupree, and I really appreciate him giving me advice before I came onto this podcast to set the record straight. And I really do appreciate his guidance and just always looking out for me. And I appreciate all of the wrestling promotions that give me an opportunity. You guys have no idea how much I appreciate it. So I'm really thankful for where I am in life now. And I really hope that one day y'all see me on the big screen.
Strictly for the culture. Brothers and sisters, you have seen the t-shirts, the hats, the hoodies, the mugs in the hands of some of your favorite pro wrestling stars, podcasters, and influencers out there. And now it's time. Visit strictlyfortheculture.ca and you too can be part of the movement. Bigger than sweatshirts and commercial success, Strictly for the Culture aims to build with like-minded people and elevate their position in the world through knowledge, self-love, and a desire to unite. So what are you waiting on? Visit strictlyfortheculture.ca. Do it for the love. Do it for the knowledge. Most importantly, folks, do it strictly for the culture. Till next time, be kind to yourselves and be kind to others. Take it away, Tony Schiavone.
Mr. Tony Schiavone, and we're desperately out of time on Duke Loves Wrestling.